from Angela Simpson Functional Medicine. Thank you so much for coming to my YouTube channel. I'm really happy to have you here. And today I want to talk to you about perimenopause and insomnia, because this is a symptom that's very, very common for women as they get into their 40s and their 50s, and they're starting to transition towards and into menopause. Often for women, as they're still having regular periods and they're not actually in menopause yet, they very commonly notice that their sleep is getting lighter and lighter every month as they get closer to menopause. And not only that, the sleep often gets worse leading up to the period. Things get lighter as far as sleep, either trouble going to sleep, waking up more frequently, or sometimes even waking up warm. And then definitely as you get towards menopause, this can get worse. And sometimes you are waking up with hot flashes several times in the night. So this can be a big disruptor to your sleep, there is no doubt. But we want to also look at what the root cause of this insomnia is and not just try and look at the hot flashes or what's happening with your sleep in the night. We want to think, where is this coming from? What is the root of it? And what I have found very, very commonly is that the root of it isn't what you would think. And there are three things that I find are very, very common to be at the root of this insomnia battle. And one of them has to do with imbalances in our toxic load or burden in our body, and in particular, really in our liver. Over many, many years, over our lifetime, we do get exposed to toxins. This is normal. We all do. Some of us will get exposed to higher amounts of toxins in our body. And even beyond that, some of us have a better capability in our body, even from a genetic standpoint, for filtering these toxins out. So often when women have more insomnia, especially as they're getting closer to that time where they're transitioning into menopause, they would think that it has to do with their hormones starting to lower and change. But most commonly, it has to do more so with the liver being out of balance and highly toxic with its burden from previous events in our life. And it's actually causing us to not process our hormones properly either, because our estrogen has to be processed in the liver as well. So, this lack of processing, this slowing down of all of the toxic load being moved through our liver, as well as our estrogen not being detoxed properly in our liver, can lead to symptoms of insomnia. And so we want to talk about what the solutions can be to that. Definitely one of them is going to be identifying where this toxic load could be coming from and starting to reduce that toxin load. Another very common symptom or cause, I should say, of insomnia, the symptom is insomnia, but the cause behind it often has to do with inflammation. Inflammation that's too high and out of balance. And I find this happens very commonly when you start to be waking up frequently in the night, especially between the hours of 1 and 4 or 5 in the morning. Often women can go to sleep, but they start to wake up at different times in the night if the inflammation is too high. So we want to be thinking of where the inflammation could be coming from. I find very, very commonly inflammation is related to the types of foods that we're eating. And it can be what we're eating right now in the time period of life that we're in, or it can be an accumulation of the types of foods that we've eaten over our lifetime that could be causing the inflammation to get out of balance. So there's some obvious foods I would think that you probably already are aware of that could be promoting inflammation. Things like, really starchy foods, foods high in sugar, foods that are packaged and processed heavily, things like that that are going to promote more inflammation in the body. Eating a lot of animal-based products, especially conventional, such as dairy, meat, red meat, that kind of thing. If we're eating a lot of these very often, it will become more pro-inflammatory the more of it that we eat. So sometimes we have to start looking again for a solution to this, and it can be related to modifying our foods in this time period. Another thing that I find is very, very common for this insomnia to start to occur in this time period of life. And again, we think it's related to our hormones changing, but often it's actually related to chronic stress. And sometimes if we are under stress during the day and we're not able to allow our stress to rebalance as we're getting closer to night and ready for sleep, it will start to cause insomnia. It'll often prevent us from getting to sleep, or we'll get to sleep and we're going to wake up more and more often in the night, and we've got things on our mind if we're under stress. So this is something that I find women in their 40s and their 50s, I find it's go time. There's a lot going on in your life. You're either working or taking care of your family, taking care of your loved ones. Maybe your parents are aging, maybe others around you have health issues. Maybe you're doing, wearing several hats in your day. I find this is just so, so common in this time period of life for females. And the result of this often is chronic stress. So we need to be thinking about how to address this. So what are the solutions around this potentially high toxic burden, inflammation, and chronic stress to help us with our sleep? One of the solutions, like I said, is going to be with your foods. You want to be eating foods that are more anti-inflammatory versus pro-inflammatory. So we want to be bringing in healthy fats such as omega-3 oils, monounsaturated fats. So, for example, things such as olives and olive oil, avocados and avocado oil, flax seeds, fish, pumpkin seeds, those types of things. Very good for helping us combat inflammation. Eating lots of fruits and vegetables, that's also going to help us with fiber, balancing our blood sugars, which also is very anti-inflammatory. From a stress perspective, we want to be thinking of what can we take off our plate? Are we doing too much? Um, do we have stress resiliency and stress management techniques? Do you have breathing techniques? Do you do yoga? Do you do meditation? What's going to work for you? Do you need to exercise more? Get out in the forest, practice some breathing techniques when you feel like you're under stress. There's all these different things that we can do, and it's going to be an individualized solution as to what's going to work for you. But the first step, I think, is just to acknowledge that there is this stress piece that could be contributing to your insomnia. Around the toxic load or burden in our bodies, which again, we all are going to have to a certain degree. Some women have more than others, though, is to be thinking of first, where could it be coming from? So it can be coming from so many different areas. For females, quite often it's related to products we're putting on our skin, in our hair, makeup, things like that. We need to be looking at how we can lower the toxic load this way and make sure that the ingredients in the products are clean, organic, low in toxins. Another thing that often we need to be looking at is our source of our water, making sure that we're drinking filtered water, that it's not full of toxins, especially if you're drinking out of the tap. You have to be really mindful of this. And then also just environmental toxins as well. So are you bringing in foods that are high in pesticides, herbicides? Are you eating organic or not? Do you have the option to be eating foods that are local, non-sprayed? Things like this to start lowering the toxic load and burden in our bodies. And then sometimes we need to go even further beyond that. And that's where I would help you develop a customized plan based on lab testing. And we can do lab testing to look at the burden on your liver, the toxins, the potential bacteria or other things that could be built up in your body. That sometimes we need to work on rebalancing to help you get the balance back in your toxin levels so you can start to sleep better. So there's lots of different solutions. Those are some quick tips for you. To develop a more personalized solution, you can reach out to me and connect with me. I would be happy to talk with you on a free complimentary call. And you can go to my website, www.angelasimpsonfunctionalmedicine, and I'd be happy to speak with you. And if you have any more questions, you can always post them here in the YouTube channel, and I'm really happy to have you here. Thanks for joining. I look forward to you watching more videos from me in the future. Take care.